Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky194, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit and check out my video. And I'm just going to do an updated video on graphics and some of the options that I have and the specs on my PC, just to kind of update as far as it's the same PC, but just for people that new people that have come in and things like that, or haven't seen the other videos that I've done on it. So basically, from the beginning, basically I got an Alienware. It's a few years old. Um, it's got the 5800 X3D processor. It's got the 3600 DDR4 RAM, 32 gigs, no 64 gigs, 64 gigs of RAM, and it's got a RTX 3090 Ti. So that's the main thing. It's good. Um, it's operated very well. Don't really haven't had really any major issues, so really happy with that. It plays ACC well. In my opinion, I really got it for that purpose. That's why I went with the 5800 X3D, because it was, at that time, it was probably the best CPU for ACC, and probably still is one of the best CPUs for ACC. So basically, that's the reason I have it. Now, my monitor is a TV. It's a LG 65-inch OLED. So again, of course, it can do 120 hertz. So basically, that's my max frame. Now, I wish, of course, I would like to upgrade, but I really kind of waiting for it to be like 144, something in that range. I mean, I'm really happy with the picture and the setup. I would just rather have maybe a little bit more frames. So basically, that's where really the way I'm wanting to go, and that's what I have right now. I've had the TV now for, again, even longer. I've had the TV now for a few years, 3 or 4 years, I think. So again, um, really happy with all my frames. Usually stick right around 100, over 100 to 119. Most of the time they don't fluctuate that much. Usually it stays pretty consistent, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's practice or in a multiplayer race or whatever. It usually stays within a few frames. Actually, usually doesn't usually even drop below 110. So again, and of course, drivers are different. Seems like Nvidia keeps updating their drivers like every time I turn around. So basically, these are the latest drivers. I just actually updated them like yesterday or something. So as of the making of this video, and it seems like it's a little better than it was the last time. So again, than the other drivers, I've ran it a little bit and it seems a little better. So we're going to go over the graphics settings that I have. I've really kept them pretty much the same. I've adjusted a few little things differently. Um, but again, you can see that I go down. My frame rate's limited to 119. I keep that so it's just a little under the max of the refresh rate of my monitor. Of course, HDR I have disabled. I've used that. I have turned it on because this TV does have HDR. It actually is pretty good, actually. But to be honest, with ACC, I just don't like the way it looks. It looks uh, overdone. I just don't like the colors. It looks a little bit off to me anyway, not natural. So I just leave it off. VSync, of course, I have disabled, because really with VSync, I've tried it on and it actually seems to hurt the performance. Unless you're going to be down around the 60 or under frames, then you can probably have it on. But it seems like if you're anything over 60, if anything, it hurts it. So basically, I leave that disabled. Down here, and everything is pretty much epic. I have everything epic. Um, Contact shadows are enabled. Now I know you can disable that. That might help if you have issues with stuttering or micro stuttering. So that could be something that you can also enable or disable. Also with coming down here with the DLSS, I have that enabled. Right now I have it at balance, but usually I have it at quality. But I did turn it down to balance because it seemed like with the other drivers, it was getting some micro stutters. So I turned it back to balance just so it'd try to help out a teeny bit at keeping it as smooth as possible. But usually I have it on the quality. So that's something that I can adjust on the fly really quick. That, you can go to balanced or performance. If you're just having some little micro stutters and you don't have time to sit there and do a lot of adjustments, I just hit that. And usually that will help keep it to a minimum as far as any kind of stuttering or micro stutters, or if you have like a really large field, let's say, you have 40, 30, 40 cars, which like in e-seniors, there's a lot of times we're always at, lately we've been at, 30 something, 40 something cars. So, you might have to back it down a little bit into the balance just to keep it smooth. Um, of course, sharpness, I usually run at 10%. I have run it up to 15%, so somewhere in there, just to keep I love the eye candy, so sometimes I'll turn that up, depending upon what I'm doing. Now FSR, I have messed with it a little bit. I have switched this off and turned on FSR for the AMD. Everybody, guys out there that run the AMD GPU, it seems to work pretty well. So again, it's not too bad. I think the DLSS is a little bit better that I've tried between the two of them, but FSR isn't real bad. But yeah, again, you can try that. But again, like the sharpness is usually a lot higher on that. I usually have the sharpness turned way up on the FSR compared to the DLSS. So, but basically it's works okay, but I just found the DLSS seems to work a little better and looks a little bit better. Effects, um, again, all at Epic. Of course, these do hog some of the GPU. If you have less GPU, I would be turning these down. Um, you know, mirror quality especially. Um, because that is the mirror, you can turn that down and it's not that noticeable. That will help a lot. In the mirror distance, you can I used to have that turned down some, but when it was on before DLSS and things like that, when it was on native, I would turn this way down and have this only on like mid or something. But with DLSS, you can turn things up and it kind of just does it on its own. So again, just like resolution, you only have high or low. I have it on high. And again, same thing with opponent visibility. I have it on all, which again is the most GPU taxing. I used to turn that down to like 8 or 10, but again with DLSS, I've been able to turn a lot of these things up compared to what I had when it was native. Let's see, go down here. Of course, I don't have virtualities out. Advanced. Now with the advanced on the advanced side, I have this at Epic. That's probably the most taxing. So if you have a less GPU, that's the first thing I would turn down would be materials quality, because it definitely can hit a big hit on your frames. So that's the first thing that I would definitely turn down. Bloom quality, that's another thing that helps a little bit. Now, see, that's just me, but with me, if I had it on Epic, um, you start getting a lot of flashes. You start getting especially at night, and things like that. You get a lot of not reflections, but when you have the lights and things hitting on it, you get a lot of different things going on with the reflections, and it really, to me, it looks worse. It ends up being maybe a little bit too saturated, and on top of that, it's just all the flashing and you get the sparkling and flashing from lights hitting it and things like that, and I don't like that. It doesn't look realistic to me. So basically, I just turn this down to mid. But I mean, again, I could have it at Epic. I've tried it at Epic, but again, something you can turn down a little bit. To me, it looks better and it saves on performance. Of course, fog, I have it mid because I mean, I don't race no fog anyway, pretty much. And of course, foliage, I have it Epic. Again, that will help a little bit with your GPU. With all the trees and foliage around, I mean, that will take a little bit of a hit too. So again, I would definitely turn this down along with the materials. Those two would probably be really quick if you're limited with your GPU. I would definitely be turning those down to keep your frames up. And of course, with this car lot quality, of course, it makes the cars, just like it says over there, makes the cars less detailed as far as in the distance and things like that, and that helps. So again, that's something you can turn down, and that would help, down to 90% or something like that, 85, 90, and it would really help make a difference. You can get a few frames out of that. Of course, I mean, I don't need it. I'm usually near maxed out anyway, so I just keep it at 100. But that definitely helps. So again, another tip: if you have a lower GPU, I would definitely be turning that down. So again, in this advanced stuff, I would be doing a lot of things here to help out your frames if you're having those kinds of issues. Advanced sharpen filter, I don't think it helped. I just disable it. Um, I just don't like it. It just doesn't, I don't think it does much. And I think it causes maybe more ghosting and some more just other issues. So I just have it disabled. Um, Motion blur is disabled. Of course, saturation is at 100%. And that's because I don't have HDR and my white balance is neutral. So again, you can turn the white balance to warm or something, depending upon what you have, or warmer. And of course, it turns it more of an orangey color, red color. But I just keep it at neutral. And of course, you have camera dirt, which is the lens stuff, and image contrast. All those are pretty much the same. And basically, I haven't really messed with those too much. I think I turned the camera dirt down a little bit because you can go up. Yeah. So 4 is as high as it goes. I think I turned it down to 3. Just to have a little bit of camera dirt, so it looks like it's, and during the race it gets a little dirtier and things like that, like it realistic, gives you the immersion. But basically, I turned it down just a teeny bit, I think, compared to what it was. Other than that, everything else is just the way I left it. I don't really do much else with it. These all seem to work really good for me, for my situation. And again, you have to tune it to your specific, especially GPU specifications. But again, you can, with all these, you can turn them down to high. I did notice when you turn down, um, uh, like anti-aliasing and things like that, down, it seems like you get more ghosting. So I tried to always keep those on epic because it just seemed like there's more ghosting on the cars and things like that when you turn that down. But other than that, basically, with DLSS, I would really try to use that as a tuner for depending upon how big your field is, or, maybe you have weather. Um, Again, and that's another thing with weather, which again, uh, basically you turn that down, which Chris Moses basically told me that, which was a good suggestion from him that I'll share. Basically in the weather, I like it as real as I can, but sometimes that does hurt you. Like in the rain, you're getting a bunch of rain and you can't hardly see. You could turn this down to low or mid and maybe not get as much of all that rain effects, and you can see better. So I probably should have done things like that. Unfortunately, I'm a eye candy, and I like it as realistic as I can, even though sometimes it probably hurts me. But anyway, that's another idea you can in weather conditions to help your frames. But again, you have so many things. The first thing I go to is my DLSS. As far as, most of the time I have it on quality and I turn it to balanced. And then if I have to, I'll go to performance, and it's just one click. And it really helps as far as if you're having teeny little micro stutters, or if if the field's so huge or whatever. So again, that's the first thing I go to. And then again, you can go down here to advanced and start turning down the foliage, and things like that you're not, or the car lot, like basically turn those things down to basically, get your frames to help out if that's what you need to do. I usually don't do this because you get a visual hit if you go down, but basically I just try to do these others first. By then usually everything's fine. So again, um, you got to take yours by just tuning and trying it out and seeing how it will go. But now we'll go ahead and run over, and I was going to go over my view settings also, just so everybody can see those. Okay, well, we're here in the car, and basically, again, you just hit escape, Go down here to view settings. And of course, every car I have a little bit different just to get me in the car that, as far as the height and the distance, just to get it where I want to be sitting. So basically, in the BMW here, I got 2.0 and the distance is -15. Pitch is -3, and that's just to get me kind of centered into the windshield. Basically, that's where I try to be, or maybe just a little lower than center, but basically right there in the windshield is where I'm trying to get my eyes uh, virtually where I'm looking. FOV though is the same. It's 30 for every single car. I don't have that. That has not changed. So again, I have tried so many different settings. It doesn't seem to make any difference. This is the most comfortable I'm at. I've tried different, where I don't have the steering wheel, all those kinds of things, and it doesn't seem to really help. So basically, I've where I'm really close, or and it just doesn't seem to make a difference. And I kind of like this where you can see the wheel and stuff in my hands and stuff. So basic, and again, that's another frame hit. So again, if you have limited with your frames or stuttering, I don't think it'd be stuttering, but basically just hurting your frames, I would probably eliminate the steering wheel in your hands, and that would help a little bit. I know in the past it did when I had less of a GPU in the past. Now, then you click over here to motion. In motion, I have it at 30, and I've said this before. Now, movement 65, that's movement in the car. That's moving the bouncing and up and down. And sometimes I've lowered that down. I used to have it a little higher, but I noticed at some tracks, the bumpier ones, it was getting too much, just too much bouncing around. So I lowered that down, and so you might even want it lower than this. But again, I don't mind moving around a little bit because again, it adds to my immersion that like I'm in the car. Because you are bouncing around in a car, but basically I don't want it to get it to where you feel. I wasn't feeling sick or anything, but again, I just don't. I'm trying to be exact, and it's disturbing that as far as the driving part of it. So again, just do that to how you like it. But again, my look with the wheel is usually between 30 and 34. Most of the time it's 30 or 32 probably. That's probably the most actually. I think I've had it at 34 before, but it's usually probably between 30 and 32, depending upon the car and depending upon, uh, maybe the track. But most of the time it's there. I very rarely change it. Sometimes, mainly, I think there's just a few cars. I think the Lexus is one of them. But again, I don't drive it that often. There's another car that I think there's one or two cars that I have to turn it up a little bit because you end up seeing the A-pillar here, and I don't like that. I want to be able. My goal is where I'm turning, I can see a little bit over here, and basically sometimes it helps also because you can see if somebody's next to you, you can see where they're at also. So again, you can see their fender or see something, and I can also see the apex going into a corner. This is how I like driving, but each to their own. You don't have to do that, but that's just how I do it. So again, those are my basic settings, or my my specs on my PC, and my settings and my graphics, and my settings here in my motion and my camera as far as all that. So I hope that helps, and of course any questions, feel free to ask. I love talking with all my sim racing friends. I hope you give me a like and subscribe. It really would help out the channel, and I sure hope you come back and visit again. Y'all take care. See ya.